HoverAir X1 drone here is a drone that lacks GPS, 4K video, and even a dedicated controller. But with all that, why is this drone possibly the future of drones? Who is it for? And ultimately, is it worth it? Hi, my name is Gabe at Digital Tech Reviews and Tips here. And if you had some or all of those questions circling around in your head, congratulations, you ended up at possibly the best video for it, in my opinion. I'm gonna be answering a bunch of different questions about my experience of using that drone. Basically how this video is gonna work is gonna be laid out into 4 sections. First section up here, talking about the basics of the drone that you need to know, specs, features, etc. Number 2 is gonna be talking about my experiences flying this drone in the past 2 to 3 weeks, what I liked, what I didn't like. Do wanna preface it, I was sent this drone by 00 Robotics, but they do not control what I say, so I can tell you this drone is the worst drone ever, or this drone is the best drone ever, and that's my opinion, you can know. And if you don't trust me, guess what? Third slot, I'm actually gonna be talking to my friend Ryan, who independently, like 3 months ago, went out and bought this drone. So he has a good amount of experience using it for his own personal use, and most importantly, is actually a video editor on the New York Times Tech podcast and has edited for The Verge. So yeah, he's a dude who is like, got his fingers on the pulse for what's going on in the tech world, and also independently, uses this drone, loves this drone, and has used other drones like the Pixie drone by Snapchat and the Mini 3 Pro by DJI. So yeah, that's honestly, if you're gonna just watch one part of this video, just skip to the third part. That's probably the best, most informative part, but hey, I want you to watch the whole thing. And then finally, afterwards, in the 4th part, that's gonna be the finale of me just saying, yeah, is it worth it? Is it not worth it? Kind of a bit of a come down there at the end, but that's the ultimate question that everyone wants to know. Like, is this drone right for you? What, sort of things can this drone do? And yeah, should you spend your money on it? So yeah, that's it for the chit chat. Let's just get into this video talking about the HoverAir X1. Now, getting to the basics about this drone. If you don't know, this drone is by a company called 00 Robotics. If the name sounds familiar, it's because this is their second drone. Their first drone was a drone called the V-Copter Falcon back in 2019. You can see what that looks like, pretty unique. Honestly, kind of clever idea, but ultimately didn't really work out. I don't know what, bad timing, not great marketing, whatever. But ultimately they are now back with this drone, and they launched it on Indiegogo, I think back in January. It raised like 1.5 million. So people obviously were pretty excited about a drone like this, and now it's out and we're here. This drone currently costs about $400 on the website. I think you can often get a discount, maybe like $25 off. But if you want to add anything else, say like an extra battery or a dual charger, it's gonna be like $450 at a third battery, maybe $500. So ultimately, like, yeah, you're getting this drone for under $500, which really competes kind of quite well against DJI, but really puts it in a different bracket. Like DJI drones are pretty much above $500 now. This drone's under $500 and is in a different category, which I would call like selfie drones, which is a smart move on the part of 00 Robotics, because any company who has gone directly head-to-head against DJI in like the past, I don't know, 6 to 10 years, like think GoPro with the Karma, Unique, Skydio, or Parrot, any of those companies has like either had to pivot out and go into like enterprise, or just, kill off their drone line completely. So by going into a drone area that is not currently occupied by DJI, yeah, it's a smart move, and most importantly, they can kind of be the only one there other than like the Snapchat Pixie drone, which actually just got recalled and is no longer existing, and create a whole new like field of drones and like define what this is gonna look like. And yeah, I had no experience with any drones like this really. Maybe like the Unique Breeze back in 2018 or 2017, I think I reviewed that one. But really I've just flown like quote unquote professional drones for the past 10 years, and mostly by DJI. So when I got that drone, I was pretty excited. I opened it up and included really nothing else except for the drone. So that was a bit shocking, but in hindsight, I guess, what did I expect? Like, it doesn't have a controller, it doesn't use ND filters, and like that's pretty much it. Yeah, so you get the drone and you get a battery, you get a charging cable, and you get a little gem pouch. They did send me the combo version, so I also got an extra battery and a dual charger, and that's probably the version I would recommend to most people. But yeah, once I got the drone, I was like, cool, charged it up. It's basically like most other drones. You got to charge it, you got to do a software update, connect your phone to it, like register it, activate it, make sure all your settings are good. And then I headed out for my first flight. And it was a bit rough because I, didn't have any experience with this drone before, but not any more rough than any other company or any other product. Like, the app kind of walks you through it. You can go to their YouTube channel and see some tutorials. Yeah, just have fun with it, go in a wide open area and try out all the different flight modes, see how the drone reacts. Now I've flown it like probably, I don't know, at least 100 times. So yeah, what do I like overall? What are my favorite features about this drone? Number one, I think the best feature is the quick launch ability. The ability to get it, from not really from your pocket, but from stored away to unfolded, take off, and in the air. That is unmatched by any other drone out there. I was a bit hesitant initially because while this does have, technically it does have manual controls you can do when connected to a smartphone, it doesn't have a dedicated controller and is really just designed to be operated with this one button right here, the mode button and the power button. Turn it on and then select your flight mode, hit the power button again, and it takes off. So very different than anything I've experienced, but after getting used to it, it's pretty cool. Granted, it will never replace any of my DJI drones, but what it offers is something that I think a lot of people are often looking for in a drone, which is the ability to not have to care about like, oh, let me learn how to fly a drone. Let me, get all the proper licensing. Let me jump through the hoops to make sure I'm in an airspace. Like, don't have to worry about that. You literally just go like, all right, I don't have to practice it. I just have to know which flight mode I want. Basically, there's 5 flight modes: follow, hover. Pretty self-explanatory. Follow follows you, hover just hovers in one place and just follows you by turning. Then it has 3 programmed flight routes, which are bird's eye, just goes straight up and down, orbit, which circles around you, and then rocket, which goes up and back. And then it has 2 custom ones, which are dolly, which tracks you in front, and then snapshot, which just goes out and takes a photo. So yeah, really super easy, like only 7 modes that you can do. So it's pretty quick that you get those all under your belt of like which one you need in which situation. You turn it on, get it in the air, like literally less than 30 seconds, oftentimes like only 20 seconds in my experience. And then it does that little route, put out your hand, and it lands right down under it. Now, the second thing I really liked about this drone was the ability for this drone to hold its place in the air without a GPS. Now, granted, I do still think like one of the things I wish that they would do was include a GPS, and that would be like maybe the V2 of this drone sometime down the road if we get one. But despite the fact it doesn't have a GPS, I was pretty amazed. Like, all it is using, if you don't know, so right here it has these, they call time of flight sensors, which basically just looks at the ground and tries to pick up patterns, I think. And with that, I was amazed it could hold its spot in the air, even in some like breezes that were, granted I wouldn't do anything like maybe over 5 miles an hour, but still, something that would blow a drone that, couldn't track the ground around quite a bit. And this drone was holding rock solid like 30 feet in the air. So pretty impressive, honestly, and really shocked me, I think, in a couple times. Like, I was like, for sure this is gonna like get blown around. Now, the third thing that I really liked about it is a feature that is not kind of talked about as much, and I'll actually go to myself out there using this feature to explain it. Welcome outside to the demonstration zone. What do you think of the footage? Well, don't pay too close attention to the image quality. I mean, obviously we do care about that, but for this demonstration in particular, pay attention to the audio, because this drone does something that pretty much no other drone does, and that is it records audio. Well, okay, hold on. Not actually the drone itself, because that would just sound like a bunch of high-pitched buzzing, but it enables your smartphone to do it when you are connected to the drone, and then magically in post, when you export it, repairs the audio and the footage, removes the sound of the propellers, and the end result is, I don't know, I think it sounds pretty good. Honestly, it's pretty impressive. Sounds almost better than some of the stuff that Adobe's like podcast beta feature does with the AI removal of noise. And yeah, it basically, the end result is you get clean audio with this magic shot of the drone tracking you, and it's all done for you. Like, I literally made a whole video dedicated on how to record audio when you're doing a drone shot, and it's, it's not too complicated, but it's something that you have to do manually and, export, all right, clap to sync it up in post. Here, it's just one tap in the app and you are done, and you have footage like this with me talking, the drone flying in front of me, but you don't hear the drone. So yeah, personally, this is like the least talked about feature on this drone, and really is one of the coolest things, especially for content creators who do want to film themselves and also, uh, be heard talking or be talking about something in the shot while using a drone. So yeah, that personally is my third favorite feature. Let's throw it back to the studio for one final one. Thank you, Outside Gabe, for that in-depth demonstration of the audio recording feature on this drone. A final thing I really liked about it is, again, the design, not just the folding thing, but the fact that it is so light. And also, if you can see this, and I can give you, like, see how flexy and bendy it is? Like, it can just, yeah, it can take a hit, basically, because of the design of it and because of the lightweight. This drone can crash. I think I've crashed it like, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 times at this point. Pavement, trees, yeah, all sorts of things. Granted, from not too high up, maybe 10 feet, 15 feet tops, but really because of the lightweight and the design of this drone, which encloses the propellers, and it also is like mostly lightweight plastic, you're not gonna break something most of the time. Like most of the time, as long as it's not too hard of a crash, it's gonna be fine. And just give it a one over, make sure it's all good, and put it back up in the air, which isn't something that can always be said for other drones. Like the heavier they are and the bigger the propellers and the stiffer the propellers, yeah, any crash is most likely going to be having you to either replace propellers or send it into the company to get repaired. So yeah, those are the features that I liked about this drone. Now, what didn't I like about this drone from my experience? I've mentioned kind of a bunch of them already, or like alluded to them. The biggest thing is the camera. And that, like I said, yeah, it's not 4K. That doesn't really matter. Resolution isn't the biggest deal. And this is using a Sony sensor, so like they're at least on the right foot, but it's pretty apparent that like this is a new company. Their image processing algorithms and stuff aren't quite the greatest. Maybe doesn't have the most amount of processing power. It is super light, 125 grams, so it's hard for them to put too much of a camera in there. But yeah, it's definitely not professional. Let's just say that. Can it be used for social media? Definitely. Can you put it into a vlog? For sure. So yeah, I guess it's good enough. I do find myself oftentimes wishing like it was a little better, because it can be a little crunchy, but really this kind of epitomizes that saying, like the best camera is the camera that you have with you, because this drone can be in a lot of situations and you'll be able to get it up quicker than a lot of other drones, so you can get a shot that, yeah, sure, the camera's not the best, but you got the shot, and you couldn't otherwise get the shot because you wouldn't want to bring your drone, or you couldn't put the drone up that fast. So that's the one thing I would complain about most. GPS definitely also, I do wish this had a GPS. Granted, like I said, that downward positioning is super good and locks it super steady, but my only worry is, say you fly off over a cliff where the ground's too far away, or you're over water, for example, and it can't get a good track downward. This drone essentially doesn't know where it is. Sure, it might be able to see you and kind of navigates back using that sometimes, but really it's lost, and it will just try to land as quickly as possible to cut its losses, and hopefully you can get to it. But yeah, it's a little scary, let's just say that. Essentially though, in the end, you do learn, or at least in my experience, I learned to just kind of, you work with the quirks and you go, okay, yeah, if someone walks in front of me and between me and the drone, it might start tracking them. And so I just have to be aware of that. And I have to then go run after the drone and say, hey, mister, stop, my drone's gonna follow you home. And then just, either take control with the phone or put your hand under it and have it land quickly. Ultimately though, in the end, actually, it does unlock a couple situations where you couldn't fly other drones. For example, I flew inside a covered bridge, which usually I'd worry about, like, messing up the GPS or the drone if it drifted, hitting a wall and, crashing and breaking a propeller. But with this, didn't worry at all. And you can also fly it inside. Like, yeah, as long as you have enough light for it to get a downward track and to see you, you're good. And so you can get some cool shots potentially inside where you have enough room. Now, yeah, that's pretty much it for things I didn't like about this drone. I mean, you can always go like harder, better, faster, stronger. Like, yeah, sure, the battery could be a little better. They put more sensors on it, make it faster, make it right. But let's go talk to Ryan and see what he has to think about it, what he likes about this drone, why he got this drone, and overall, yeah, what his thoughts are on the HoverAir X1. All right, so I'm here with my friend Ryan. Ryan, you bought the HoverAir X1 and you have a background in video editing and just making videos for fun, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I am a professional video editor. I worked for The Verge. I did gadget reviews for like 5 years there. And I currently work for New York Times doing the video podcast for Hard Fork, the tech podcast. So I'm in the tech world.
That's pretty connected. Actually, I think you're actually more qualified than me. So I'm just gonna hand this over to you at this point. But for your own personal use, you do mostly video for fun. Would you say
Yeah,
that, or
exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. These days, I mostly do video for fun, I guess. Yeah.
yeah? So you have bought the HoverAir X1, but you also had the Pixie drone. Oh yeah, there it is. From Snapchat, which I think is really its only direct competitor. I mean, they're almost identically the same like layout size on the propellers. Yeah. What
Yeah.
brought you to that product category of drones, and what have you liked about the HoverAir X1?
Initially, I when this came out, I immediately bought it. I think I was like
Yeah.
the like day one. I was like, I want that because I have had other drones in the past. I had the Spark. I liked the Spark, but it was always like, as you know, you're a drone enthusiast. There's a moment where you're like, oh, I'd like to get that shot, and then there's this whole like, okay, let me get the drone out, let me get the remote out,
Yeah.
let me start everything
Yeah.
up, let me make sure. There's like a whole setup, and like this the Snapchat one was like it just like literally a dial with all the different shots on it, and then you just
Wow.
hit go, and then it flies. And then the hover, I feel like I don't know if they copied the Spark or if that's just like the most obvious choice because it's like a similarly like radial interface.
Yeah.
But I just think like the time between like I want to do a shot and I'm taking the shot is reduced, and that to me is really important because like the friction between like wanting to shoot and shooting usually stops me from taking out the drone, like a big drone. Like I got the DJI uh, Mini 3 Pro, and
Yeah.
I just don't shoot with it as much because it's just like a whole production getting it out, like taking off this little freaking cover. You know,
Yeah.
there's like it's a whole thing. So I think these are just like obviously better for just like quick shots.
Yeah. No, I'm a professional drone pilot. When I first started using it, I was like, no, this is not. But in the 2 weeks, even just now using it, like you nailed it on the head. Like that ability to get it out in like 20 seconds is, yeah, that's so cool. And if you really don't, care too much about like, all right, I'm going to be, doing this for professional work, or I'm, I don't know, doing a massive landscape shot. It's like, which do you value more?
Yeah, exactly. I think most people are shooting for social media and they don't mind the image being a little crunchy. And
Yeah.
again, this is like V1. This is the version 1 of this product. I'm so excited for version 2.
Yeah, I mean, how so you've used this in what's the most crazy situation you've used it in that it's surprised you? Like,
In a slot canyon because actually I tested this in a slot canyon too and it
yeah,
crashed a lot and which that's what
yeah,
led to it breaking one of the times. And so I
jeez,
have this navigated the slot canyons pretty well. I think it was like
yeah,
sort of like it was having trouble being like smooth, but it
hmm,
did navigate the slot canyons.
yeah. That's pretty impressive because you do a lot of
Yeah.
hiking, right? Is that your
Yeah, this is
primary
the I
time?
think
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. I think this is like going to be in the travel influencer starter pack from now
yeah,
until the future.
yeah.
Well,
I mean, it's pretty impressive what it does, and the fact that it's not a whole complicated thing. I think will elevate it, so that people who, I don't know, I can think of a lot of people I know, especially like older people potentially who are like, oh, I don't want to have to deal with all that. And like, imagine if they could just whoop, take off and go. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
To me, this product category is going to be huge.
Yeah. I mean, any wishes for this drone? Like camera quality, longer battery, I don't know, wind resistance.
I think the only thing I was thinking, I wrote down some notes. I
Okay.
feel like the only issue with this drone
Yeah.
is the gimbal is like so precarious. You know, like this thing, it's you can't
Yeah.
shove this in a bag. Like like people claim this is pocketable, but that still is like very fragile. And if they can figure out a way to make that
Yeah.
to protect that whenever you're not
Or little,
flying, that would be
little
huge.
cover that folded down. Yeah.
Yeah, something. I was looking for some solutions to make this more carryable because the Pixie famously came with this cool strap, which I love.
Yeah.
It looks awesome, fashion statement, great. But yeah, this it's they need a good way to carry it around to keep it in your pocket.
Yeah. That's a good point. I hadn't really thought about that. I had put it in my pocket a couple of times, but it was kind of like gingerly putting it in just for the shot of taking it out of my pocket.
Yeah, for these things to be like robust, like if the way that people want to use these, they need to be a little bit more or less fragile.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experiences with the HoverAir X1 with me. What is your places that people can find you on online?
On YouTube, it's John Ryan Manning, I think.
I'll put a link down below.
Maybe Wonderful Color. And then Instagram, Grondo Rondo. It's going to be hard to spell, so yeah, you should put that on the screen.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, like, if you want to just see what I'm doing week to week, I do the video stuff for the Hard Fork podcast, so you'll see my editing style.
I'll have to give that a listen. Yeah,
you haven't listened to it?
Always.
That's crazy that you're a tech head and you don't know.
I take my badge away. I'm no longer.
Listen to this week's episode. It just came out yesterday. It's the head of Google DeepMind, Demis Hassabis, and it's a really good episode, actually. Highly recommend it.
I'll have to give it a listen. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time, and hopefully
later. Thank you.
00 sees this and sends you a new drone with the V2.
Oh, please, yeah. Let me know. I'd love to get a sneak peek at whatever you guys are cooking.
Yeah. All right. Take care.
Bye.
All right, so hopefully you enjoyed my little chat with Ryan there. If you are still watching, make sure to go follow him or just tell him what a good job he did and thanks for coming and being a part of this video. But ultimately now answering the question that you want to know, who's this drone for and should you get it? I think this drone is definitely not for professionals. Let's start by saying that. If you have, any aspirations of like wanting to do real estate work with the drone, or you're like, I want to get started on my drone business, don't get lured in by this drone's low pricing. It's not that the drone is bad, it's just that's not what it's for. Now, if you're someone like Ryan maybe, or I don't know, I have friends who just, they're always like, I don't know, a drone's just too complicated, too much stuff. This drone might be for you because it removes a lot of the complicated stuff out of the process. It has pre-programmed flight modes. You go out, you're doing your thing, put it in the air, get your shot, bring it down, transfer it to your phone and share it with all your friends, and they're like, oh, that's so cool, you got a drone shot, because it is a drone shot ultimately after all, even though it's not a drone in the sense of what DJI makes. Now, is it worth it? Hopefully I've answered it by now. Like, if you're the right user for it, yeah, it's worth it to you. If you're looking for a professional drone, most likely not worth it to you. But I don't know. If you do have any questions about that, leave it down below. If you are still watching, thank you for making it all the way to the end of the video. There might be a treat for you down below also with the fact that there might be a discount code. I think 00 Robotics said they were gonna give me one for like a first month for anyone who clicked through and used my discount code. So if you want a discount, use that code if you're here within the first month. Otherwise, thank you very much for making it to the end of the video. The only treat I can give you is a free subscribe. Yeah, you can subscribe for free to me if you aren't already. Click like, leave your comments down below if you do have any questions that I didn't answer, and myself or someone else will try to answer them for you. But that is really it for this video, guys. Again, thank you very much for watching. Fly safe, peace out, and have a nice day. Bye.